Hello, this is Alex from BC Designer, and in this video I'm going to give some explanations about quality KPIs and quality scorecard. First of all, we have discussed the quality balance scorecard in separate articles. So if you want to learn some theory, if you want to go step by step with all the details, I do recommend for you to check out this article. You'll find there three parts. The first one where we discuss some KPIs. The second part where we build a balance scorecard for quality, and the third part where I give you some tips about using this quality scorecard in practice. And you can find this article on this link. And obviously, I will share this link in the description for this video as well. And in the second part of this article, we build this scorecard, and the final product is this strategy map with some business goals, some indicators, some initiatives. And if you're not familiar with strategy maps, it might be something confusing for you, because actually here on a single page we implemented a lot of information. So this is a benefit of such strategy map, but sometimes it's a disadvantage because you need to have some explanation to better understand how to deal with this strategy map. So that's the purpose of this video. And I have opened the quality scorecard. Actually, I have followed these links that you have in this article. So I switched to this template, and then I saved it to my own account in BC Designer Online so that I could introduce some changes and use it for this demo video and to explain some detail. And of course, you can do the same. If you don't have an account with BC Designer Online, you can create a trial account to give it a try to understand how it feels like. And if you're already using BC Designer Online, then you just copy it to your account and change it according to your needs. I will be doing this video with some beginner user in mind. So if I will repeat something that you already know, well, sorry about this. And for those who don't know the software, knows nothing about the software, as I mentioned before, you can sign up with a free trial account. And also important thing, in all section of the software, we have this small icon that leads you to the manual, product manual. And in this manual, you have some training videos as well that explain you some detail about the software. Okay, so let's start with the strategy map. First of all, this strategy map is automatically generated from the data that I have here on the KPIs tab. So I will be switching back and forth to comment some of the ideas. And let's close this. So for now, we have here on the KPIs tab, we have four perspectives that are reflected on this strategy map. If I will minimize it, you will see it. So we have here the financial perspective, customer perspective, internal processes perspective, and finally learning and growth perspective. So what's the general logic of this strategy map and of any good strategy map? So on the top we have some final goal that we have in mind. Normally it's a financial goal if we're talking about some for-profit business, or if we're building a strategy for non-profit or for some internal business unit, then probably they will have some goal related to the stakeholders. Then to achieve this goal, to achieve this financial goal, to achieve this goal for the stakeholders, we need to satisfy certain needs of the customers. In this case, we're talking about the needs for quality. And to satisfy these needs for quality, to satisfy the requirements of our end users and other stakeholders, we need to do something internally. And that's what we map in the internal processes perspective. Finally, we need to be able to focus our learning efforts as well, because there is always a gap between between the business systems that we already have and probably the new business systems that we want to implement. There is also a gap between the skills that our team has now and the skills that we need to gain in order to serve our customers better. So that's the goals that we will map in the learning and growth perspective. So if you want to read this strategy map, you have two options. One option is to start from financial perspective and move down. Another option is to start from the learner perspective that actually define your direction for the future and move up to the financial perspective. Another name for the learning and growth perspective, some experts use it as well. You just name it enablers. So you put there the goals that enable you to achieve the goals from the internal perspective. If you prefer, you can use this name as well. Then, if I will make it bigger, you will see that we have here some rectangles, and in each rectangle we have some objects. Like, let's look at this rectangle, which is a near-miss reporting training. So the rectangle itself is a business goal that we have mapped in this learning and growth perspective, and you will find here several lines. The green line, or the green block here, stands for leading indicators. You have leading indicator for a line that is aligned with this goal, and this one is logging indicator. The gray line is explained here in the legend. It is a logging indicator for this goal. So we're always looking at certain indicators in the context of this goal. So basically, in this case, when we're talking about near-miss reporting training, our leading indicator that predicts the success in terms of this goal is near-miss awareness training. And so we do some training that explain to our quality team what is near-miss reporting, and that's our leading indicator. And we can expect that if we covered, like in this example, we covered 80% of the participants, we can expect that something positive will happen. And what positive event do we expect? What positive outcome do we expect? We expect this one. We expect near-miss issues reported. So if our awareness training was a success, then we can expect that people will start reporting some quality issues, and we're going to track it with this indicator. So that's the logic, the difference between leading and lagging indicator. Again, on our website, you will find some articles that explain the difference in the detail. The next line with this small icon, actually, where we put company-wide training to $20,000 for months. So as you might have guessed, this is an action plan or an initiative. Why do we have it here? Because there is a gap between the goal and the metrics. Yeah, let me explain. The goal, near-miss reporting training, by itself, it does not tell us the whole story about near-miss reporting. Yeah, we know that we need to do some training in this this domain in near-miss reporting, but we don't have enough details about this. On the other hand, these two metrics, they give us very specific view on this goal. Yeah, so we have a view on the leading part, how well we did in terms of making sure that we will achieve this goal, and it gives us a very good view on the lagging part. It tells us how well actually this goal is working now, how it is performing. And sometimes what is missing is a middle part. So some action plan that will help us to move from green leading zone to the to getting some tangible results. And I like to map this lagging part on the strategy map as well. And I do it this from the form of the initiative. Sometimes. Yeah, let me open switch to this tab and show you one thing. So basically, when I click on the goal, I have here its name, and sometimes we need to explain what is called strategic rationale behind this goal. We need to explain why this goal exists. What's the purpose of this goal? Why do we have it on strategy map? Sometimes it's enough to look at the strategy map and say, okay, we have near-miss reporting because we want to prevent critical quality problems. Yeah. Sometimes it's enough to read this information from strategy map, but sometimes we want to know more detail. We want to know what we have tried before. We want to know some detail about the environment to are dealing with right now. We want to know some obstacles that we faced before. We want to know the challenges. We want to know the reasons of this challenge. So we want to know the context. And to explain this context, we can do it via the same initiatives, putting another line here. Or we can do it by adding some description of the goal here in this field. One thing that I wanted to comment because many people say that commented to me that it's not actually clear from the beginning. The picture that you see is actually not a picture. It's a dynamic representation of what you have here. It means that if you need to change something to for example, I can create here my new idea, a new initiative. And when I do so, the strategy map is updated as well. So this is not a picture. This is a dynamic representation of your goals, KPI initiatives, etc. So I have created a new initiative and it appeared here. So it was some introduction about the general logic of the strategy map. Another thing that I wanted to pay attention to that here, for example, let's take quality awareness goal. We have several indicators aligned with this goal. So we have we have two leading indicators, which is outdated training materials and quality training penetration. So basically what we're going to measure here is that all training materials should be up to date, and we should try to keep this the value of this indicator lower, the percent of outdated training materials. And we wanted more people would know about this quality training. So the quality penetration training indicator should be high. The value of this indicator should be high. So two leading indicators. And we also have two login indicators, actually three login indicators, time to respond to quality issues. And how should we take these indicators into account when calculating the performance of this goal? There are different approaches to this, and I saw some of them, and some of them might work in your case. I will share the approach that I recommend and that work for our clients. We will calculate separately the leading performance, in other words, the performance of these two leading indicators, and we'll calculate separately the performance of these three lagging indicators. Yeah? And when doing so, we will actually get to this number. So 89 on green background is the leading performance of this goal that takes into account these two leading indicators. And 75.88% is the lagging performance of this goal. Actually, it looks very easy, but let me explain you some nuances behind these calculations. To do this, I will switch here and show you some properties of these indicators. So first of all, we have to decide how we're going to calculate these values, because we can calculate an average. For example, an average for 4% and 82%. Or we can calculate a weighted average, taking into account the weights of these two indicators. And normally we deal with weighted average. So let's say if this indicator is more important, we'll take it with higher weight, and it will affect the calculation. So let me demonstrate this for you. We have outdated training materials and quality training penetration. Both have the same weight. Actually, it's not assigned. And right now, the leading performance is 89%. 89%. Okay. So let me change the weight of this indicator to 90%, and the weight of this indicator to 10%. Let's see how this calculation of strategy map will be affected. Okay. Perfect. So we have outdated training materials, which is 4%. So almost no outdated training materials, and quality training penetration is 82%. Now, let's imitate a situation when we have more training materials that are outdated, not 4%, but 14%. The performance, the leading performance of this quality awareness goal has changed, and we see that it's reflected here. So that's the point. When the software calculates the leading performance, it takes into account the weighted average of these leading indicators, and respectively for the lagging indicators happens the same. The next question that I wanted to explain using this example. For the lagging indicators, we have two indicators that are measured in percent, like quality program awareness and communication redundancy, measured in percent, but we have one indicator that is measured in hours, time to respond to quality issues. What happens with this last indicator? We cannot compare it to these two indicators directly. Why? Because here we have the measure units are percent, and here the measure units are hours. We cannot compare hours and percents. But in some way, the software calculated for me this value. How the software did this? It normalized the value. What does it mean? It means that here for this time to respond to quality issue, we have specified the two measurement scales. One is from 1 hour to 24 hours. And on this measurement scale, when we have time to respond, when quality issues are responded to within 2 hours, our performance is 95%. We almost reached this 1 hour response time, that we have a best possible value. And I also have a different scale, which is from 5 hours to 1 hour. And on this scale, our current value, 2 hours, I see it here in the second column, which is progress. We have just 75% progress. Why? Because progressing from 5 to the value 2 hours, we did a good job, but on this scale, it's not 95, it's just 75. Yeah? So it's different scale. Again, let me play with this data. Let's imagine that I have 4 hours. So on the general scale, the performance is good enough. It's 86%, but on the progress scale, it's very low progress, because on this scale, we did not improve much. Another thing that I wanted to show using this indicator as an example is that some indicators on our quality scorecard will need to be minimized. For example, time to respond to quality issue. Here I have the performance tab, and here I had to select minimize. Yeah, minimize the time. And on this chart on the right, I see that my green zone is here on the left. So the less his value, the better. What about training penetration, for example? The better, the more people participated in the training, the better. So we have here maximize, and this chart has green zone on the right. So I think it's enough of technical traction. Let's review the strategy map itself. Let's see how the logic flows on this strategy map. So I would start with from the financial perspective. What are the goals? No, let's start even from mission statement. So here I have mission statement. I have specified it for the root element here. And my mission is to solve quality problems effectively, and always think about prevention plan. The mission is quite generic, but if you build a template, if you build a strategy for your own quality department or quality strategy for a product, for your organization, you can obviously change it according to your needs. Okay, so what's the goal? Quality is not contributing to the financial success directly, obviously. But we can formulate the stakeholders or quality goal or financial goal as sustainable growth. So what we want to achieve, we want to achieve a sustainable growth. And what exactly we mean by this? First of all, we mean that in terms of finance, we want to maintain, we want to control the cost of poor quality. And that's the indicator that I have here. And what will we do to achieve this sustainable growth? What will we do? I have here 2 green lines. As I mentioned before, these are the leading indicators. But in this case, these are not actually the real indicators. These are the contributions of these 2 goals that I have below. You might have noticed that the name of this indicator, my entitled product, is exactly the same as the name that I have here of this business goal. So basically what happens? Let's look at this goal here. My entailable product. Again, it has 2 parts, the leading part and the lagging part. The value of lagging part is 96.93%, and it is contributing to the sustainable growth as a leading indicator, which in this case is the same value, and that is used to calculate the efforts for this goal. The same happens for this for this goal. It contributes, its lagging part contributes as a leading indicator to this goal. It's quite simple, and you will follow these arrows. Okay, so we have a goal, sustainable growth, and we know that to achieve this, we need to satisfy the needs of our customers. And the question is, who is our customer? Because when I say customer, probably you imagine some end user, but it's not always about end user. Sometimes our customers are also our team, because they also deal with our product. And if our product is not that good, we'll see that these valuable people will eventually leave the company. Yeah. So we have at least two types of customers. Actually, we have more. So for this example, we have two types of customer. The end users of the product, basically, they want to have a product without critical defects. And if you have some critical defects or non-critical defects, these stakeholders want these defects to be fixed quickly. Yeah, there are no products without defects, but if you have the defects, make sure that you fix them quickly. Again, looking at this goal, I can say that we have two leading indicators which come from these goals below. And we have complexity index indicator that is a local indicator for this goal. Let's see if I have added some details. Yeah, actually here, the complexity indicator, the complexity index is explained. So what is complexity? How it is perceived? Again, in article, we discuss this in detail, but I would say that normally the complexity is perceived by excessive timing, excessive choices, excessive explanations. What does it mean? Let's say we have here EC Designer. It's quite a simple product. I hope it's not complex for you. But when looking at how our users are at their first experience with this product, when we're doing some demo call, something like this, we're looking at excessive timing. For example, someone is trying to use this alerts function and someone is not able to figure out how to use this function. And for us, it's excessive timing, and this is a sign of complexity. Just an example. So these indicators build a complexity index. Again, in your case, you might probably add some more indicators. So we have here two leading indicators. And what about lagging indicators? How do we validate that non-critical defects are actually fixed quickly? How do we validate this? We have to find out some indicators. Let's say what we have here, the number of complaints per period. In this case, the number of complaints per period, let me think. This indicator actually tells us if people are complaining about this or not. So fixing non-critical defects quickly. Let me see where we are measuring it. We are measuring it here below. So basically, it's not shown. This indicator is not aligned with this goal, but it is aligned with some internal goal, like for example this one, solving quality issues quickly. So this goal is contributing to this goal, avoiding critical defects, and we'll see if customers liked our approach or not. What will we see if customers like our approach? We'll see that more customers stay with our product. We'll see that more customers recommend our products to colleagues or friends, NPS indicator. The number of complaints per period, it's tricky. Actually, as you can see, I can switch to this view. As you can see, this indicator is in minimization optimization. So less complaints is better, but it's not always the case. Sometimes if we have no complaints, it does mean that people like the product. Probably it means that there are some complexity issues, and that's why we actually have here complexity indicator as well. Okay, a maintainable product. Who needs this? Do you think customers need this? or our team needs this? I believe that both need this, but primary, the maintainable product is what our team needs. Why? Because if the architecture of the product is not good enough, eventually you will see that here, top performance turnover, you will see that more people are leaving your organization. Yeah. And eventually you will see that people start complaining on product complexity or product quality. And this will be a different type of complaints. One thing when your end users are saying that your product is not working or whatever. Another thing when your engineers are saying that your product is too complex. Okay, and how this goal is contributed, what is leading indicator for this goal? It comes from this goal below. We are moving to the internal processes perspective. We know why we have these goals here. This goal is contributing to maintainable product goal, and these two goals are contributing to this goal, avoiding critical defects and fixing non-critical defects quickly. So again, preventing quality problems, critical quality problems. How can we possibly prevent critical quality problems? Oh, it's a tough task. One of the approaches that I suggest in the article is to focus on near-miss reporting training. The goal that we have started with this discussion, this video. So what is near-miss reporting? It goes from aviation. It's very costly to observe and to quantify quality on the number of, for example, airplane crashes. Yeah, no one wants to do this. So what the professionals from aviation industry do? They develop the culture of near-miss reporting. So basically, if there is some safety accident, people need to report this. They do it anonymously, so probably the person responsible won't be blamed directly. And the main challenge that your team need to be trained in near-miss reporting. So your team need to understand the importance of this. How the near-miss reporting looks like. Well, imagine that I switch between these tabs, and I'm not doing this video right now, but doing some internal job for me, and suddenly I have some unexpected error message here. Yeah. And one option is just I click close and I forget about this. But what does it mean? It means that probably this error message will come up another time when someone will be doing demo for a client, or even worse, when a client will be using this product, and it will be converted to some tangible problem in this case. So if the near-miss reporting is implemented properly, I would create, well, we're a software company, so I would create a bug report. If you're not a software company, call it whatever you want, but you will report on this. So that's the near-miss reporting. Again, an article, I give some Wikipedia links so you can learn more about this. Near-miss reporting training, we need to make sure that people were trained about reporting near-miss events, and will validate this, that people are actually reporting by the number of issues that were reported. And this is contributing to this goal, to preventing quality problems. Yeah? So near-miss reporting is contributing here. And what we are going to track, we are going to track the number of critical problems. Let me open it. Internal. The number of critical problems per period. So that's what we will be tracking. Okay, I think it makes sense. So the main part is here, is to implement this near-miss reporting. That will lead to preventing quality problems. Yeah, this is actually one way the software this goal is contributing here. But I also see that here is another goal that is contributing to prevent critical quality problems goal. What is this goal? This goal is to learn to prevent quality issues. Again, what it is all about. Here I have some initiatives and they are explained in detail in the article. Basically what we want to do is to analyze the requirements. We look at the requirements, we sit down together with one or two experts and review the requirements for the product, and if we find some ambiguities, we stop and we count on this. Yeah? So if there are 4 ambiguities per page of the requirements, then there is a problem, obviously. Implement expert reviews. Again, in the article, I have explained some detail. What does it mean? Well, actually, it's quantifying this metric, WTF per minute. So it's a famous metric when you just review something, like you open the interface of the software and you show it to people and they start clicking around. And when you hear something like, what's this for? What's this for? You count on this. If there are too many what's this for per page, then probably your quality is low. Again, it's the same as ambiguities per requirement page. What else? Some random tests, aleatory tests. So when you pick some random samples, mostly for physical products, and you find out, get an idea of the quality, the implementation of some automated tests. So basically here we have some ideas, but I guess in your case, you will have some different ideas. And this is contributing to preventing quality problems. So it makes sense. Yeah. So we do this, for example, expert review. Someone is clicking here, here, and here, and if there is something that is not working is not working as expected, people report, and this helps us to prevent critical quality problems. Not all, of course, but it helps. In your case, if you're doing physical products, probably someone will read the manuals, will play with the product, will check out the website, whatever, to find out the number of possible issues that you have and later fix these issues. Okay, moving on. Solve quality issues quickly. How can we achieve this? First of all, we have login indicator that tells us how quickly do we solve quality issues. Here we have this indicator measured in hours. So if something happens to your website, make sure that you solve it quickly, within 2 hours, for example. But how can we ensure that we are able to solve quality issues quickly? Well, obviously we need to explain to our team how to deal with quality issues, what is the most effective way to deal with quality. Again, in your case, you might use some specific indicators. I have used some more general indicators, but you can change them according to your needs. So let's look at this goal. We have quality awareness. So to ensure that people know how to deal with quality, we do some training, and we support this training with training materials. So we make sure that training materials are up to date, and we make sure that training is actually delivered to the right persons. So this is our leading part. And the login part is that we actually, for example, do some short exam or some tests to make sure that people actually are aware of this quality program. We do what is called communication redundancy. It's the estimation of how effectively your team has communicated. Just to give an example, I was staying in one hotel and I needed an invoice. I needed to get an invoice from this hotel, and there was no 24 hours reception, so I had to exchange some emails with administrator, and it was like about having 5 or 6 emails before I got the invoice. And for my opinion, it was a little bit too complicated. So normally it would take 1 or 2 emails, like I need invoice and here's my data, please do invoice for me. And it's important for quality. When you is able to communicate internally effectively, when you is able to communicate with your customer effectively, then it's really good in terms of quality awareness, in terms of implementing the idea of quality in practice. Time to respond to quality issue. That's an interesting indicator. What it's all about. If you will look here, then above you will find another indicator: time to develop prevention plan and time to implement prevention plan. What does it mean? Yeah, and here actually have time to solve the critical problem. So we have 2 indicators: time to solve the critical problem. I have development. Time to solve the critical problem and time to respond to quality issue. What's the difference? The difference is that sometimes we cannot solve the quality problem quickly. Yeah, we should solve critical problems quickly, but sometimes we don't have resources to solve all quality problems quickly. So what can we do in this case? This case, we can at least respond to our end users, to explain the issue, to tell, okay, we have noted down this problem and we estimate that it will be fixed in, 2-3 days. For less critical issues, sometimes it's enough. Sometimes it works even better than doing a quick fix that won't be working later. So we have to deal with this. Again, I have aligned this indicator with a goal in learning and growth perspective for one simple reason. It's not about fixing your problem. It's not about your engineering skills. It's about your cultural skills. It's about the way you communicate with your customers, about the way you deal with quality situations. So it's an indicator for aligning with this quality awareness goal. Okay, so quality awareness, it contributes as a leading factor to this solve quality issues quickly. And we measure this goal, solve quality issues quickly, by time that we need to solve the critical problems. It's also a good idea to measure here the time that you need to solve less critical problems. And obviously you need to define what is a critical problems. And we also measure another indicator, improvement acceptance rate. What this indicator is about. Imagine a situation that, again, I'm going to use BCDZ to explain this. Imagine that someone is clicking some button here, like this one, and tells, okay, I will explain you. This job list is to switch between different strategy maps. Yeah, so I can switch between different strategy maps. And someone clicks this button and tells to your developers that actually I expect to switch between perspectives here. It's not a bug. It's the way that like software works. Software allows you to choose here the strategy map, not the perspective. But someone can report to your developers this as a problem. If someone is your user, then it's a sign that there is some problem with training materials, with manuals, with whatever, with software interface. If we're talking about software, someone is your customer support specialist, then you actually have a problem. Why? Because customer support specialist should understand what is a problem and what is not a problem in most cases. Yeah. So if customer support specialist submitted 25 improvement requirements and they don't make sense, then probably there is something wrong. Probably these customer support specialists need to pass another training, for example, quality awareness training. Yeah, so that's the idea. So we're looking at improvement acceptance rate. If it's, for example, below 5%, we have a problem. If it is below 70%, we're doing great. And similar indicators that I want to discuss is here. We have quality issues backlog. If you look at this indicator, then you will see that this gauge chart is not standard. So just for example, here we have green zone on the left, but for this indicator, the green zone is somewhere in the middle. Actually, the optimization function is not a classical one, a sine function. What does it mean? It means that having no quality issues is a problem. It means that people are not reporting about quality issues. Yeah. Having too many quality issues is a problem, because it means that your quality support team, quality team is not working fast enough. You don't have enough people or whatever. So this is a kind of example of indicator, but the green zone is in the middle. Yeah. Okay. So quality issues. Now, let's look here. One of the goals for the internal stakeholders for our team maintainable product is supported by this goal: root cause analysis and quality assurance. What does it mean? Imagine a situation when someone finds a problem in this software. Like, for example, the report is not working. And instead of analyzing the reasons, instead of understanding what is causing this problem and fixing it on the level of architecture or on the level of other system, we just apply a hot fix. If we do so, the complexity of the system will increase very soon, and this will result in top performers to leave the company. We don't want this. What we want to analyze the reasons of this issue, and prevent similar issues from appearing in future. How can we analyze this root cause? How can we do this root cause analysis? Well, it depends on your domain and your industry, but my point is that you need to explain to your team, using this quality awareness goal, quality awareness training, that the root cause analysis is must, and that they must analyze a problematic situation. What is measurable in this case? How can we validate that actually people are doing root cause analysis? Very simple. For all quality issues that we face, if you're doing software, you have some bug tracker. We'll look at two indicators. First indicator is time to develop prevention plan, and it should be fast. We should develop prevention plan within 3 or 4 days. When I say develop, I don't mean implement. I mean develop. So we have some prevention plan. Like, for example, I click here and report is not working, so I need to come up with some new requirements and explain to the developers how to prevent this in future. Talk to the developers and ask their opinion about how to prevent this in future. And another indicator is time that we need to implement prevention plan. So 2 indicators. Yeah, actually this indicator, I have it here on my dashboard. Well, let's leave it here. This indicator is also very curious in this case. Why? Because the green zone is the big one, but it's from 1 to 6. Yeah. So if we develop prevention plan within 6 days, it's okay. If it's more, it's not okay. In your industry, it might be different, but I'd recommend you to look at these numbers. So I think we have reviewed this quality scorecard. I would recommend for you to look again at these indicators. You have all these indicators here to look into the article where we discuss all the logic that stands behind these indicators. Again, this is just a template that you can use as a starting point. In your case, probably you will have some different goals, some new indicators, but I hope you will also reuse some of these indicators as well. And as always, if you have some questions about using the tool, the BC Designer, don't hesitate to contact our customer support team. We're always happy to help you. And I think that's all for this video. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.